We all know that first impressions matter, but sometimes introducing ourselves can be kind of awkward.
Yeah, for sure.
It can be, right?
Yeah.
So today we're taking a deep dive into a really cool 8-minute English podcast episode all about, well, just that. How can those introductions count?
I like it.
Not just the basic, hi, I'm so-and-so, but really how to connect with someone new.
And what I think is so interesting is how they emphasize, going beyond just like listing facts about yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Like, think outside the box.
Yeah.
Find creative ways to spark a genuine connection.
Okay, so let's dive into that.
Yeah.
Because one of the things they talk about is storytelling.
Yeah.
But how do we use that in an intro?
Well, instead of saying, I like pizza,
right,
share an anecdote, right? Like, the podcast gives this example of a guy who's trying to make homemade pizza, and it ends up looking like a UFO.
Oh, that's funny.
Relatable. Humorous.
Yeah.
Definitely memorable.
And we do tend to remember stories better than just straight facts.
Yep.
I think there's some science to that, right?
There's neuroscience that shows that our brains release dopamine when we hear a good story, which makes us, much more likely to remember that information.
So it's not just about being interesting. It's like you're creating a bond.
Exactly. You're connecting with somebody.
Yeah.
And they suggest, think about a time that you've, overcome some sort of challenge, or maybe you achieved something unexpected or learned a valuable lesson.
Right.
All those experiences make great stories that kind of reveal who you are.
That's so true, because I'm always thinking about, like, those awkward silences after the initial, hi, I'm...
Yeah, totally.
What comes next? And the podcast mentions hobbies, which I think is great.
Hobbies can be fantastic conversation starters, right? Because they reveal so much about, our personality, our values.
Yeah.
Someone who's passionate about hiking, they probably love nature and adventure.
Right, exactly.
So you kind of get a sense of who they are.
But what if it's like a niche hobby? Like, what if you're like, I collect vintage thimbles? Should you still talk about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You should never be afraid to share your passions, even if they seem a little unusual.
Okay.
Because enthusiasm, that's contagious.
It is.
And people are often drawn to, those who are genuinely excited about something.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a way to stand out and spark some curiosity.
I love that. Okay, so we've got stories, we've got hobbies. What about strengths? The podcast mentions that too.
Right.
But it's not just about listing skills, is it?
No, it's more about showcasing qualities that make you valuable, in different contexts.
Yeah.
For example, instead of just saying, I'm patient, you could say I'm a patient person, which really helps me when I'm working on complex design projects, with a team.
So you're connecting it to real life situations.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of like you're showing how those qualities, translate into action.
Right.
And it's much more power. And by doing that, you're giving people kind of a glimpse into how you might approach things, different situations.
Yeah.
Which can be really, really helpful when you're forming a first impression.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they also say that, the whole process of introducing yourself, it can be tiring sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're like in a new environment.
Especially in a new environment.
They're meeting a lot of people.
Yeah. If you're feeling kind of drained or socially exhausted,
Really.
it can be a bit much.
For sure.
But here's where I think it gets really interesting, is they use this word rewarding,
Okay.
to describe the flip side of that. They remind us that, even though it takes effort to put yourself out there, the benefits of connecting with someone can really outweigh that initial discomfort.
It's all about the mindset.
It is. It's all about, shifting our perspective.
Yeah.
From this is tiring to this could be incredibly rewarding.
I like that.
Right.
Like you might spark a cool conversation.
You can make a new friend.
Right.
Make a new friend.
Yeah. Find a collaborator on a project.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities.
It's about focusing on the positive.
It is.
Yeah. Instead of the challenge.
Absolutely.
They also use the word unwind, which seems kind of out of place at first.
Yeah, it does.
But they tie it back to this whole self-introduction thing in a really clever way.
Right.
Because they're saying, having those hobbies and interests that help us relax,
that help us recharge,
can actually make us more confident.
You're confident.
When we're out there socially.
Right.
So it's like taking care of our mental well-being.
Yeah, like prioritizing self-care.
Can help us introduce ourselves better.
It can.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like you show up as your best self
Yeah, you're more present.
For yourself.
Yeah.
And,
for others.
Exactly.
They also talk about being patient.
Yes.
Which I think is super important when
That's so important.
we're trying to connect with somebody.
It is.
Right.
Like, building rapport takes time.
It does.
It's not always going to be an instant connection with everyone.
Right.
And that's okay.
You shouldn't get discouraged if you don't click with someone right away.
Exactly. Sometimes it's about, just planting seeds for future interaction.
Yeah.
Like even a brief, pleasant exchange could lay the foundation for something, much more meaningful.
Down the road.
Yeah, down the road.
It's a good reminder.
I think it's really interesting when they kind of zoom out a bit and talk about why this whole thing of introducing ourselves is so important.
Right.
Like they really present it as the foundation of, human connection.
Okay.
It's the signal that we send out to other people that says,
like we're open.
I'm open to engaging with you.
Yeah.
Sharing with you, learning from you.
It's like opening door to a relationship.
It is.
Right? It could be a quick chat.
Yeah.
Like at the coffee shop.
Totally.
Or it could be something more long-term.
Absolutely. It could be a lifelong friendship.
Yeah.
And they say, it can be challenging to put yourself out there.
It could be scary.
But the benefits, they say, they far outweigh the risks.
Right. It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's about stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And really just embrace the possibility of something new.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about a lot.
We have.
Storytelling, hobbies, strengths, importance of practice, putting ourselves out there, rewards.
Rewards.
And they have a very consistent message.
They do.
Self-introduction is a skill, not a talent.
A skill.
Something we can all get better at.
Absolutely.
With practice.
With practice.
And they highlight one of the most common pieces of advice.
Yes.
And what is that advice?
Practice.
Okay.
It might seem obvious.
Right.
But they really emphasize the power of practicing your self-introduction out loud.
Yeah.
The more you do it,
yeah,
the more natural it'll become.
Right. Like anything we learn.
Exactly.
The more we practice it, the better we get.
Yeah, and think about incorporating the elements we discussed. Like try telling that story about the pizza UFO to a friend. See how they react. Does it spark a conversation?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Does it make them laugh?
Yeah.
Get some feedback and refine your delivery.
Yeah, it's like workshopping it.
It is.
Before you're in the real world.
Exactly. And speaking of real life situations, the podcast leaves us with a really interesting thought.
Ooh, I like it. Lay it on me.
They ask,
okay,
what story about yourself will you share the next time you meet someone new?
Oh, I love that.
So it's not just about memorizing some script. It's about finding those authentic nuggets from our lives that make us who we are.
Makes you unique.
It does. It's about owning our stories and recognizing their power to connect with others.
And you never know. Your story could resonate with somebody in a way you never expected.
Absolutely.
So there you have it, folks.
That's it.
A deep dive into the art of self-introduction, inspired by that 8-minute English podcast episode.
We did it.
We did it.
We made it.
We unpacked a lot.
We did.
We went beyond the basics.
Beyond the basics.
Of just saying hi.
Right.
And really explored how to make those first encounters count.
Absolutely.
We talked about the science of storytelling, the power of hobbies and strengths, and the importance of, just being patient.
Being patient, with
ourselves and others.
With yourself and with others.
And I think one of the most important things we learned is that self-introduction is a skill.
It's a skill.
Not a talent. So we can all get better at it.
It's absolutely.
A little effort.
A little effort.
And a lot of heart.
And a lot of heart.
So go out there, practice your stories, embrace your quirks, and connect with the world around you.
I love it.
Because you never know what amazing connections are waiting to be made.
You never know.